What's going on, everybody? And first things first, as always, give us a big war cry. Ah! And today we have a special, very, very special interview, what I like to call a debriefing with I consider a very good friend of mine, Mr. John Lennon. And before we get started, special thanks to our audience, the Ops family. Thank you to everyone who has subscribed. If you haven't done so already, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Your support means the world to us and keeps us going strong. A special hug to our sponsors, Battleboard Studios and Baron of Dice. Thank you to them for everything they do. Special thanks to our family sponsor, Art of War. Be sure to check them out on YouTube for exciting content. Their strategies and insights are invaluable for anyone looking to up their game. Don't forget to check out the new Operation Episode 5 coming soon, right before Grand Onslaught 8, which is on August 10th and 11th. We've got some exciting previews and special guests lined up that you won't want to miss. And today, we have somebody special, John Lennon, lined up on Onslaught Gaming community, and we've been working hard on some exclusive content and surprises just for you with Tyranids. So, John Lennon, what's going on, brother? How you doing today? How's everything?
Dude, I'm great, man. Super good to be here. Always glad to be talking to you again. I'm always excited. You know, I just obviously was at one of your events, and you know me, I'm always repping my Tyranids.
Yeah, I love it. And we're gonna get into that just in a second, right? I was gonna preemptively ask you, what is your day one? But can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started in 40K? I know a lot of people know you on the planet, right? But just in case this is the first time someone hearing about you from this platform, tell us a little bit about you and how you got started playing 40K.
Yeah, 100%. Just to speed run it, I've been playing Warhammer for way too damn long. At this point, a little over 16 years. Started back in 4th edition, and I've hit every edition since. I started off with Tyranids. I grew up in Tampa, so a lot of my Warhammer career has been in Central Florida. Absolutely. So
Florida man.
I am the Florida man. So
Right.
grew up in Tampa, played throughout all of it, even through college. I still played over the summers and stuff. But now I am privileged enough to have Warhammer be my full-time job. I'm one of the coaches over with Art of War. I very much specialize in competitive 40K, even though I enjoy the hobby elements as well. But competitive is absolutely where I've made my mark. So I have won many tournaments over the years. Tyranids have absolutely been the faction I've played the most over that time, but I play a couple others. I'm also privileged to be a member and a co-captain for Team USA, as well as one of the members of Art of War 40K. And as Lewis mentioned, I'm involved in all of our content creation over on our YouTube channel and on our website, theworm.vhx.tv.
So, you almost alluded to it. I know you've been playing Tyranids for a long time, but what is your day one army? You know, that one army you fell in love with that made you continue to play Warhammer 40K, and why?
You know what it is. You know it's Tyranids. Tyranids, 100% my day one. On my 12th birthday, I got a Tyranid Codex and a box of Gaunts. Back when a box of Gaunts had 8 Hormagaunts and 8 Termagaunts in the same kit. That's how long I've been playing. End of 4th edition, and it's really easy to keep track of the years. Just age minus 12.
And for those of you that don't know, right? I'm the head judge of Crucible, and I want to ask you, Lennon, was your first event official major or GT at Crucible? I might be wrong, but I know you've been playing there when you were very, very young. I know Tim Wright tells me the stories all the time.
It wasn't my first.
Okay.
The first GT I ever went to was the old BeakyCon back in Tampa, and man, that
right.
has to have been that's well over a decade ago. Well over a decade.
Yes.
I want to say like 2012 or 13.
Wow.
But Crucible is 100% the tournament that's near and dear to my heart. I was at the first Crucible that had Warhammer. I was at Crucible 2. Because I think Crucible 1 was War Machine only. And I've missed 2 Crucibles during that time. When I was an undergrad out of state before I transferred back to USF, I missed 2 Crucibles during that time because just couldn't really come home in the middle of April. Just wasn't the right time, like a couple weeks before finals. Definitely shouldn't have, so I'm glad it didn't. But I've been to so many Crucibles, and it's absolutely that event that I love to hit every year. It goes way back for me.
Aren't you the reigning champion currently? Aren't you on a three-peat or something better than that?
I'm not on a three-peat. I've won 2 in a row. I've won 2 in a row Crucibles, but okay. It's been a hot streak for Crucible. I have won this Crucible several times in the past.
Yes. I love it. And it's so always exciting to see you there and participate. One of the biggest thing, right, that I tell people all the time, especially in what I do, right, in my position as a tournament organizer, I really hold you up as the standard when it comes to game etiquette, right? You're a wonderful person in other ways, but your game etiquette is impeccable. I tell people all the time, especially people who have negative connotations against competitive players and things like that. I say, look, I know individuals when you watch them, specifically John Lennon, playing his game, he breaks down everything to his opponent, right? Lets him know in a very concise, detailed way of what he's going to do throughout the game, what does what prior to the game, what type of movements, positioning, just everything, right? And I want to thank you for that, because I've used that throughout my profession and everything that I do, just watching you play competitively, to know that that's just the high bar, the high standard to that, right? So a lot of people like to emulate that. And I tell people all the time, like, that is what it is to be at that high level, is not to be a douchebag. Be a good guy, right? No, seriously. A lot of people think
you're not wrong.
It's me defending people in your position, right? Not just you, but everybody in your position who are at a higher competitive level, right? So I defend individuals like yourself all the time. And I say, look, the best people are the ones who are super competitive. The ultra competitive players will break everything down to you. They don't want to go into a game and just smash baby seals, right? I mean, they want to win. They want to be tactical. You want to do your strategies. You obviously want to be the best at what you do in your craft. It's like boxing, right? You obviously want to go in there and you want to beat your opponent, but you're still playing with your opponent. And that's the thing that people can't differentiate, right? A lot of people think that you're playing against your opponent instead of playing with your opponent. And you, sir, are the 5-6 stars for that, right? And there's a lot of individuals in the competitive scene that do it like that as well. We're not better than you. Right. So I appreciate you very much. And I hope the community appreciates you. And if you ever see him at a GW Open event or any majors, or maybe you see him when he goes to WTC or whatever it might be, right? Check him out. Check out his game etiquette and see that that's really the best way to play out. So, no, I appreciate you, and the community appreciates you.
Yeah. I mean, I appreciate the kind words. I mean, I just got to say that it's the community that made me like this. I think, like, obviously I've been doing this for a while, and I've been playing tournaments basically the whole time I've been playing. I'm embarrassed to admit it, but like, I was not necessarily the standard of sportsmanship throughout my entire life. Not going to claim that teenage John was as good of a sport as I try to be now, but a big credit that has to just be that the Warhammer community in general has elevated, I think, a lot. Like back 4th, 5th, 6th edition, what we would currently determine as a gotcha was genuinely just like a normal expected thing. Like the standard was gotcha hammer back in the day, and it was weird if you didn't. And like you could be nice and your opponent would have got you in a second, and it wouldn't even be like seen as a bad thing. But now the community has grown so much better. And I'm very proud that I feel like I've obviously been doing this enough. You'd hope I'd have grown as a person since I was 12 years old. But I'm very I feel very lucky that I'm held up as a standard for that, because obviously that's something I try to be. I try to be someone that other people could look up to and emulate. But just the work that the community has done, the work that we try to do to help the community, and the growth and making it such a friendly and welcoming environment compared to maybe some other games that you can find in a hobby store. That's honestly one of the things I'm most proud of.
Absolutely. And this is your show today, right? So everything that needs to be plugged in needs to be plugged in. And with that being said, right, make sure to go check out his coaching sessions. I've never been personally a part of it, but I know him as an individual and I've seen him play, right? I had the pleasure of watching him at WCW playing against some amazing players from around the world. Just check them out. Listen to them, right? Amazing work, right? And I'm going to continue to say it. I know you're going to feel all icky inside and be like, Lewis, that's a little bit too much. But you know what? People deserve the credit when they work so hard for it, just like people get the discredit when they do bad things in the community, right? You've all seen all of the posts of people who get shamed publicly online. Well, I want to praise you and individual players like you who play competitively to do the right thing for players, right? Thank you once again. So with that being said, you had recently participated in a Warhammer 40K GT at Coliseum of Comics in Kissimmee. I was the head judge for that. Yeah, and you were awesome. As always, you would have got best sport if you wouldn't have been in the position that you went into, which is first place, right? But can you give us a little bit of a walkthrough of your strategy for the GT and kind of what the rounds were for you and how they played out?
Yeah, 100%. I was playing my Tyranids. I've been running the Invasion Fleet detachment, which is the same detachment as the Index, but I didn't actually play Index Tyranids that much. I was on some other factions when the edition started out. But I've been very much playing the same list or very close list for most of 2024. It's actually relatively similar to the list I took to the last Onslaught event I attended, which was at the beginning of the year, and I want to say in February. I think I dropped 2 monsters, put in a monster and a lone op, called it a day. And but it's been about the same list for 5 or 6 months because my approach for a lot of these tournaments when I can is to run something that I'm more comfortable with. Especially recently for me, I've found that I generally do better at tournaments if I'm running something I'm very comfortable with rather than trying to change it up to get, the cutting edge, the bleeding, let me change my list because Chaos Space Marines came out. Nope. I'm going to run the list that I know how to play the best. And I've had a lot of success with that recently. And so that's an approach I'm looking to continue forward. But going into the actual day one, we started off with round one against Alan, who's down with, I think, Dice Boys down in South Florida. And he was running World Eaters. And World Eaters is one of those scary matchups where just the amount of damage that they can do is always really intimidating, but they have to actually get there and apply it.
That's right.
This game ended up relatively favorable for me. I had the first turn, which I will never complain about, against a fast scouting army. And the way that this one kind of went down was that I had enough screens and move blocks and little things that I got to take those first hits on some other units that weren't as important to me. And then because I had a couple long range guns, I was able to pop some good shots and just start chipping the number of damage dealing units they have. I view World Eaters as just like they have this many units that do critical mass damage. Once they drop below that and they can't one-tap me, they are no longer a threat. Because if you come hurt a Tyranid, that Tyranid backs up and all of his friends eat you. So I need to get as many units below that critical go in, kill a thing threshold as possible. And that's kind of what happened was I started off just, losing Gaunts and Gargoyles and Lictors to get Berserkers out and 8-bound out. And then I would lose a Gaunt squad, kill the 8-bound. Angron comes in and flips, one thing, Angron dies. And that led to me getting a pretty good material advantage. And obviously I'm playing Tyranids, my secondary game is on point. So that led to me, about halfway through the game, I kind of got that strong material advantage where I could just run away with the scoreboard and close out the game.
Nice. Did Angron come back?
He did not. He only got one roll before there was not a World Leader armory to come back to. We didn't roll on turn 5 because Angron by himself was not going to necessarily change the scoreboard too much. So my opponent didn't bother rolling out turn 5.
Sad face. I'm a World Eaters player too. So, but anyways, I'm glad you won.
This is my first time killing Angron. I've never killed Angron in my life until that game.
That is
so he deserves to stay dead.
Yeah, that's right. At least for that game. Yeah, me actually playing them, I've only lost them twice in around 30 games. But anyways, I digress. I try to hide them very well. So, round 2, how did that go?
Round 2, really, really fun game. I played against Ricky. Ricky is an Astra Militarum player, very fun guy. He was running...
Yes.
Absolutely, dude. Ricky was fantastic. He had a really good time. Ricky was running like a Lehman Rush list, as we call it. Lots of rust holes, very scary. And he decided to he went first and he decided to kind of like gas pedal at me and just like push. And that's always a very dangerous proposition to deterrence because you kind of have to know exactly how it's going to go down. And for the first couple turns is like a really nice close game. Again, Russ shooting me trying to dance around the line of sight, shoot back the best I can. But what really kind of closed the game out for me was two big things. One was old One Eyes Carnifex unit, which was that I got that unit from behind the wall to in the combat and touching a lot of stuff. And because the Astra Militarum army is mainly composed of blast weapons, it doesn't really take advantage of big guns never tire that well.
That's right.
So if I'm in combat with a monster and you shoot me, you can't do it with a blast weapon. And that Carnifex unit makes a blood surge move after you shoot it. So it's D6 plus 2. So I got in there, I started tagging things, and now it was, okay, if you want to shoot at this Carnifex unit, everyone in combat has to fall back. That means none of those tanks are shooting. And then if you shoot me and I blood surge and I tap the combat, now you still can't shoot, but I'm in combat again, so none of your blast weapons get to work. And so I eventually got that chef kiss formation where old One Eye and his friends whip around a corner, rip a tank open, and then touch another one. And then if that tank can't get away, you just can't really shoot that unit because one activation isn't bringing down 3 Carnifex. And then even if you get 2 Carnifex go into combat, touch another Russ. In your turn, old One Eye flips the Russ upside down. In my turn, I walk forward, I go find another friend. That and just getting into combat, just tagging a bunch of stuff, stopping them from moving, kind of let me get to a fun spot where I cleared the infantry while I still had some left. Infantry go touch the Russ, and now the Russ aren't moving, so I get to put all of my effort into one, and none of its friends get to move over and shoot. And so I just kind of tag them all and then start working down the line one at a time. And that got me another victory for the Tyranids.
Wonderful. That's a great recap for round 2. So before we get started into round 3, we're going to do a 1-minute commercial. We're going to pay the bills. It takes a lot of money just to get all this lighting set up. All right. So give us 1 minute, everybody, and we'll be right back. Now with a word from our sponsor, Baron of Dice. Baron of Dice is your one-stop shop for premium wargaming dice. Our dice are made with premium resin materials and colored dyes. Each die is hand-mixed to the desired result and then carefully swirled with 2, 3, or 4 colors in a silicone mold before being laser engraved with a wicked symbol and finished in a matte or gloss polish. There are no imperfections in our dice, no balancing issues, no micro bubbles or mold lines. This is the difference between. You can, quite literally, feel and hear a difference with our dice. Whatever game you play, whatever style your team or faction rocks, we're sure to have something to elevate your game. With over 500 styles and over 4,000 customer reviews, welcome to the best dice on the planet. Now back to our show. All right, and we're back. Thank you very much, everyone, for giving us that 1 minute. And we're back with it with the Tyranids, John Lennon's GT victory, and we're going into round 3.
100%. Round 3, I went up against a very unconventional Death Guard list. This was against a gentleman named Cody. I've never played Cody in the past, but I've seen him at events doing well, and he had quite a good run at this tournament as well. But Cody's list was very unconventional for Death Guard. It was very big. It was very thick. So he had 3 Brigand allies. He had a Great Unclean One and a Soul Grinder and some Nurglings. And then he had 3 Demon Princes for Death Guard, as well as Mortarion. And then he had Typhus and a zombie unit. So some generally pretty thick stuff, right? He was leaning into that disgustingly resilient aspect for Death Guard. The big thing here that proved to be my advantage, because for once I think I was actually out-beefed. This is not a thing that normally happens when I play Tyranids. I'm usually the one packing the beef, and this man had more than me. The big thing in this game was that I had the range advantage, and I had more guns. And so what matters here is that I get to choose that army rule of either sustained against small stuff or lethal against big stuff. And so if I see all monsters, I just say, whatever, my army is lethal hits against monsters' vehicles, which is everything that's not a Nurgling. No big deal. And so this turned into a very sloggy game. I ended up going first. It was Vital Ground, so very dry primary. But me being able to just like plop Exocrines down into a firing lane and say, I'm here, I'm shooting, you're not in range to shoot me back, was really nice. With that first turn, I pushed up and I pointed like 4 guns at a Soul Grinder and nothing else because I kind of thought it was going to take a while to kill. And you get one of those things where the first Exocrine shoots, it does 0 damage. And you're like, oh man, maybe I'm not going to kill this. Second Exocrine shoots, it does 15 damage. And it's like, oh
wow.
Okay. Yeah.
Made up for the other one.
Yeah, that guy put the whole turn on his back. And, like I had some other guns going at it, but I got to say, not having Nurgle feels really good. And that's kind of how it went. He was scoring decently, but he took a fixed bring it down plan, which he got through a lot of my monsters, but he didn't get through all of them. And he also had engage, and a lot of his turns he was only getting the small engage. So I was kind of just trying to keep him away. I was trying to move block him with the gargoyles before they die, to the Hormogods before they die. And I was just trying to hold down the trigger, honestly, and just like get through the monsters. And I got through just about all of them. He was getting through them too, but the big thing is that Tyranids are very good at tactical cards. So I basically held him down to a draw in primary. I contested it 1 time, and then I scored a 40 on secondaries. And that was it. Where it's like, all right, if I get a 40 on secondaries and I get 1 more primary objective than you cannot catch me. And so I spent 1 turn move blocking his primary, and then I locked down mine, and that was it. And just speed run to 40 secondaries, get a 1 objective advantage. And at that point, I'm just trying to hold down the trigger and kill him as much as possible so he doesn't get a massive primary at the end of the game. And that worked out. He got good primary end game, but he didn't get all 4 objectives on the table, which is, I think, what he would have needed to pass me. But it was a very bloody game. We have monsters brawling back and forth, old One-Eye beating up demon princes, a hive tyrant getting worked on by a demon prince and a great unclean one. Just like a lot of blood. Mortarion, as we all know, is the worst Primarch, and so he died like a little baby. He didn't do anything. He walked up, killed a Maliceptor, and then I just pointed my army at him, and he just puff of smoke disappeared, which was pretty nice.
Just slapped him away.
Yeah, absolutely. I was like Mortarion, screw this guy. Get him off the table.
That's right.
It's one of those things where against Tyranids, if you just fail the wrong battle shock test, it's like, wow, no stratagems, and I'm +1 to wound against you. Goodbye. Whole army. Goodbye. So that's nice because if you just hand people enough battle shock tests, you just look around, you find out who failed, that thing dies.
Very clutch. So your clutch unit was Carnifex, and what was his clutch unit? Apparently it wasn't Mortarion, but what did he do?
I think it was a great unclean one. His great unclean one just was walking along and I couldn't kill it. And it was always one of those things where I wanted to kill something else, but that great unclean one getting to toss a -1 damage on you, which stacks with the Death Guard, or sorry, -1 toughness. Then the Death Guard -1 toughness kicks in, and so you get to a weird point where it's like, oh, this guy's only strength 8 in combat. He's not that good. And then I look down, I'm like, wait, I'm -2 toughness right now.
Yep.
I'm taking a lot more saves than I thought I was going to take. It's like, you won me on 5s. Actually, it's 3s. Shoot. So that great unclean one was just wading through units. It took a while, right? He's not insane in combat, but he wasn't dying. And that great unclean one almost made it to my home objective. If there's a battle round 6, he's probably getting to my home objective and getting to that point where, maybe he is scoring that critical massive primary at the end of the game to flip it back.
Oh, wow. Yeah, he's so slow, but he survived that long, huh?
Yeah, I mean, he's slow, but if you deploy him on the line, he just pushes forward each turn. He's going to get somewhere. I had to get him in combat and get him to stop moving. I had to have my Hive Tyrant tie him up for a while to make sure he didn't reach my home objective. That was very important.
Nice. Great recap on round 3. So, going into round 4, who is your amazing opponent in this one?
100%. Up next is AJ, who I believe is also a player from down south in the Miami area, I believe. AJ was also on Death Guard. But he was on a much more conventional type of Death Guard.
Back to back.
Back to back, but like completely different list. AJ was like 40 Plague Marines, 4 Rhinos, couple and like 3 Predators, and I think like 4 of the Death Guard characters. And I want to say there was like a squad of or like a bloat drone or something in there as well, like a bloat drone or 2. But a much more conventional Death Guard list that was absolutely leaning into the Plague Marines. This is a matchup I've gotten to play a couple of times with Tyranids, and luckily it's one that I have a lot of experience against. One of my fellow Red War coaches, Quentin, plays a lot of Death Guard. I've recently paired into Death Guard with this exact Tyranid list at tournaments. So it's one I've got a really good handle of, and this is another one of those cases where I outshoot them at range, and I am too beefy for them to cut through all of it at once, and so my job is to hold them at an exact rage band and apply my damage over and over. And if I do that properly, I'm going to be okay and get through the game. And it's that funny thing where like Tyranid shooting is not the board, right? I'm not firing like a hammerhead at you, but Death Guard is a short-ranged army, and I'm a mid-ranged army. And I'm a little bit faster. They're tougher, they do more damage, but if I'm good with my measuring tape, I can be like, all right, your Plague Marines at most get out 3, move 5, charge 12. All right, I'm going to get 21 inches away from this Rhino, and I'm going to start shooting. And then those Plague Marines get out, and that Mouse is going to walk, that Neurotime's going to walk to 17.5 inches away and shoot an 18-inch gun at them. And if they run after me, I'm going to back up faster than they're running, and I'm going to shoot again. And that, some clutch application of gargoyles to go contest some objectives. This actually followed almost exactly the same trend as the last Death Guard game, which is my normal plan. I had 2 turns where I made a concentrated effort to contest an objective and deny an objective, and I held mine the whole time. And so I scored, because this was scored short, so I just got 40 on primary, 10, 10, 10, 10. Easy. And then I gave a 5 here. I gave a 5 there, and I scored 40 on secondaries. And that's it. It's like, all right, you can burn an objective to try to catch up. That'll put you at 35 primary at most, because you're not going to get to my home one. If I've got 40 primary and you've got 35 and I've got 40 secondaries, you'd have to take the paint off my models to get a win. That's and right. You didn't. So, and I was able to break through and keep his secondaries pretty low. So this ended up as a relatively decisive victory. But it's one of those things where once I'm in that scenario of I'm locking in my 40 on primary, I've dinged your primary once, and you can look at the scoreboard and tell that I'm scoring more secondaries than you are. So I'm playing Tyranids. Once you see that, the opponent kind of feels the pressure of, man, I'm just going to lose if we keep playing like this. So they got to go all in. And if you try to rush down a Tyranid army and you're standing in the open, Tyranids do actually do pretty good damage if you just are in front of them taking the hit.
They definitely can. And anything that kind of stood out in his army, maybe a clutch unit that he had was just unbearable or unkillable for him?
His Predator Destructors were very annoying because they were longer range than I was. So because he had Predators that were 48 inches on the las cannons and on the autocannons, this was absolutely one of those scenarios where, everything within 36 of me is dying. If you're 36.1 away, I can't do anything. And so the whole time I was just trying to shred his midboard. He had 3 Predators just shooting me. And they were very inconsistent, right? There's no rerolls on it. Sometimes a Predator was doing like 10 damage, and sometimes it wasn't getting a wound through. But he did get to activate that unit, those 3 units over and over and over, and that was very annoying because it did wear down my monsters a lot faster than the Plague Burst Crawlers that I often see do. Those Plague Burst Crawlers, they're good, they're tougher, they're better at pushing, but again, you're pushing into the Tyranid threat range. That Predator Destructor that costs less points and isn't as tough, but is not getting shot at, ends up living the whole game and just firing away, and that got a little annoying. But we weathered the storm.
And what was your MVP for this match?
I mean, I'm going to be honest, it's the same one every time. It's Old One Eye.
Old One Eye, huh?
Old One Eye and his friends.
He's that great. Got it.
He's genuinely why I play that army, is because Old One Eye is so much fun. Just giving all his friends reroll hits, and he just sits in the middle of the unit. Like, if you try to mess with them, I'm going to start hitting you. Like, he's with gun Carnifex. It's all guns on the Carnifex, and then there's Old One Eye just sitting in the unit. Like, yeah, These guys are all guns. I'll just sit here and shoot you. No big deal. Oh, you got close? Old one at a time. You get the big crab claws.
I love it. Old one eye. I love it. All right. Thank you for that recap on round 4 and into the final round 5 game that you went into. An amazing opponent, an amazing individual, a longtime community member of mine, Mr. John Sweet. So, how did that ended up breaking down for you, Mr. John Lennon?
Man, this one was tough. John and I have had some great battles. We've certainly played our fair share of matches. He's another very good player, he's local to the area, so we meet up in tournaments fairly often. Man, this was all Nurgle at the end. John was playing all Nurgle demons. It's a funny meme list, haha, until you play against it, because John Sweet was 4-0 at this point, it turns out. And John was running 3 Great Unclean Ones, Rodigus. I want to say 30 Plague Bearers with some attached characters, and then some flies, a Beast of Nurgle squad with the Horticulus Slimex, that guy.
Love that guy. Love that model. That model's amazing.
That model's fantastic. It's a classic silly GW model that actually just works.
Yes.
And again, it's incredible thickness. Like there's no question who has the shooting advantage here. It's me. Again, he's so much beef. I'll just take lethal hits against all the big stuff. Killing all those Great Unclean Ones is such a bear. And this mission was Purge the Foe, just kill points. This is actually a very bad mission for Tyranids because I kind of make kill points, right? I have a Biovore. I have a lot of little stuff. I have a lot of little like one-man units running around. Yep. I give up kill points. This is I'm not going to lie, I got a little nervous when I saw this was the finals. And I saw it before I submitted the list, but I was like, screw it, we're just going to take Tyranids anyway. It's what I do. This was a great one. John deployed aggressively, because why not, right? Like, what am I going to do? Shoot him? Whatever. His models are massive. He's not hiding them. And then he went first, which on Purge the Foe, I normally like to go second. But I got to say, when I look at the table and there's the 3 center objectives all have a Great Unclean on them, I was like, oh, that is not what I was looking for. That is not good. So we got into a battle, and the way this one was going down, it's not worth me throwing away my army to try to contest his primary, because if I work really hard to deny him hold more, I have to put a bunch of units out there, and my cheap stuff is running up to a Great Unclean One with a big flamer. Like, they're gonna die. And so if I send all my units in, I deny hold more, and then he gets kill more. Because my units are right there, and he's just going to kill them. So I really how do you want to approach this? It's actually very difficult. And so I decided I had to abandon one flank. Like, I can't contest all his objectives. If I get a turn before the Great Unclean Ones move, I can move block them. I can keep him off of the objectives. But once he's on the objectives, I don't move block him. He's already where he wants to be. And so I had to send my whole army up one flank and try to work my way through it. And really, I was just trying to fight enough to make sure that I was holding and I was killing as well. And with bottom of turn, I snuck a couple kill mores. But realistically, I kind of had to look at this game and say, wow, John's going to score a 50 on primary. And he did. He did. He scored a 50. I think he would have scored like a 56 if we had kept count that high. I mean, he held more every turn. He held every turn. He killed every turn. He killed more several times. And I was like, okay. But then I held every turn. I killed every turn. I killed more a couple times. And that gets you a high total. And so this was the only game I lost on primary. But again, my game plan was, all right, well, I need to really beat him on secondaries if I think I can't beat him on primary. Maybe I can tie him on primary, but I can't beat him. And what really mattered there was draining his command points. Demons are good at secondaries, which is difficult. It makes this matchup hard. But they're good at secondaries because they have a CP to pick units up and redistribute them.
Yep.
And that is a command point that he has to have at the end of the fight phase. So if I keep hitting him, if he's CP rerolling things, if he's using his stratagems to do better damage in combat, if he's overwatching, if he's doing reroll ones to save on a unit that I'm dumping my entire army into, he did run out of CP at several points. And then the other side of this is that lift units up into the air that only works on units that aren't in engagement range. So my approach was, all right, I need to kill everything that's not a great and clean one. So my turn one, 3 great and clean ones running straight at me. And he's joking like, well, you can't not shoot the great and clean ones. I'm like, I can. I cannot shoot the great and clean ones. And then I went and I killed 10 plague bearers and a character next to the great and clean one. I'm like, all right, well, he's the only guy on that objective now, so you're not going to lift him. If you lift him, you lose hold more.
That's right.
So, all right, let's keep the great and clean one still. And then that escalated to, all right, I'm killing as much of the little stuff as I can. Now we're going to go tagging with Maleceptors. And yeah, I'm going to lose this fight. But I'm not going to lose this fight in one phase. I'm going to lose this fight in several fight phases and shooting phases. And I'll die before you do. I'm not going to kill a great and clean one with a Maleceptor in combat.
Yep.
But by the end of it, my secondaries were like a solid 10 or 12 higher than John's, because I had a really clutch bottom of 5 where I drew Bring It Down, Assassinate, and obviously one of those great unclean ones is 5 on Assassinate. And those great unclean ones, Rodriguez is 22 wounds. Big Man is worth 6 points of Bring It Down by himself.
Yep.
And so I was up on secondaries a little bit. And then I drew those 2 cards, and I was just looking at the table. I'm like, all right, I got to kill the big man. I've got to do it. He's got 9 wounds left. I've got damaged 3 guns. I got to kill the big man. And it's one of those clutch things where, John had been passing a lot of battle shocks all game, which sucks because if he fails, I get +1 to wound against him in his toughness 12 thickness, and it's really useful when I don't have a strength 12 gun in my army. But Rodriguez failed that battle shock test, bottom of 5. And
clutch.
Rodriguez failed at clutch. That's no command point rerolls on saves. That's no reroll 1s on saves, and my army's +1 to wound. And I just dumped 2 egg screens into him, and he failed 3 4-ups. That's it. Game over, and I win by a couple of points. Not many. It's a very tight game. It's a great game, as always, with John. I always have good games with John. But it's a real nail-biter, squeaking it out, bottom of 5, drawing the right cards. And I had a CP to shuffle it if I needed to. I needed 7 secondary points on turn 5 to win. But when I drew 2 back-to-back that were just 5 for this, 6 for doing the exact same thing again, we go for it.
That's clutch. And I'm glad that you ended up becoming victorious. I actually watched that game, round 5. I know both of you fairly well, and I wanted to see the excitement, right? I know John is a very good player as well. I think you've actually played him at Crucible. Correct me if I'm wrong, maybe a couple of years ago.
I've never played him at Crucible, I think. I've played him at a couple different events, though. I've played him in some of the Georgia events. Okay. I played him in a couple different places. I played him at Onslaught last time in February. I played him at Onslaught. I think that was Onslaught 6.
Yes.
So 7. Onslaught 7. Got it. So I've played John a few times at local events in the Southeast, and we've had a lot of close games.
Yeah, I wish people would have been able to see that. It was exciting just watching it. The strategy that was going back and forth between you guys and coming in with those clutch secondaries was completely amazing. So congratulations to you, good sir. You ended up getting a lot of store credit, a cool Romanesque type of helmet, prizes, things like that. So as always, you're appreciated in this community and you were victorious. So everyone who is doubting Tyranids, right? John Lennon took the GT and made them amazing. So before we continue on with the final questions to close this all out for everyone, we're going to do one more commercial. It's going to take 1 minute. All right. Hold tight. Don't go anywhere.
Turn this into an epic display.
Hey everyone, I'm Lee the 40K Nomad, and this is my battle board in a box. The only display board you are ever going to need, and it will take care of all your armies. Let's open this thing up and show you how it works.
And then choose from the steps
or the flat wall section. All display boards come with both options. Want to use the same display for a second or third army? No problem. Change out the picture, change out the insert, add some different terrain, and you're good to go.
Are our mics still muted, Lewis?
All right. Sorry about that. Thank you.
No
Thank you.
problem.
I went on a whole spiel there. I was telling everyone, thank you for hanging tight. I'm glad that you're still here. Hopefully, you're still watching. Me and John Lennon, specifically John Lennon, talk about his Tyranids and how he was victorious at the GT. So we got a couple more questions for you, and then we're going to let you loose. Any shout outs or people you like to thank for their support or contributions to your recent success, Mr. John?
Oh man, I mean, there's too many to thank, right?
Like myself.
I mean, honestly, like I have to credit it with the growth of the Warhammer community, which means everyone who, hosts an online community, hosts a podcast, hosts a YouTube channel, hosts local events, everyone who runs a game store and is helping grow Warhammer. I also begrudgingly have to admit that Games Workshop has been doing a pretty dang good job recently. If you've been playing for as long as I have, you know that roasting Games Workshop for being terrible is just one of the bread and butter things in this community. But you know what? If you're going to roast someone for being bad, you also got to give them credit for being good. The more recent additions, comparing, 8th, 9th, 10th to 4th, 5th, and 6th is night and day. But I mean, genuinely, my success is because I have an opportunity to do this, because I have an opportunity to be on Team USA, practice those people, because I have an opportunity to be on a Team Art of War, practice with those people, play against the people I do. And all of that happens because, I got to grow up in an awesome competitive community in Florida and get to this level, right?
The best community.
The best community.
That's right, Florida. We're the best. All right. For those of
Florida
you
is
who
the
live
best.
everywhere else, for those of you who lives everywhere else, no slight, right? Like, we're not throwing shots, but I am. All right. We're still we are the best. But go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I had to throw that in there, right? Like, I always want to claim fame for us, right? And here in Florida, I think we have the best players around the world, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah. It's so hard to call out one person. If I call out one person, I'm going to feel bad because it's so much a community thing. I've just been lucky enough to be in the position I'm in. But again, local TOs, support them.
That's right. Specifically me, no one else.
Specifically,
just me. Right?
Specifically. Well, you're local to me. I'm sorry. Everyone should support my local TOs. That's what I mean.
There you go. I'm totally being facetious, of course. Right? There's a lot of great tournament organizers out there, so make sure to support. The other thing, right? Just to kind of piggyback of what you were talking about, the local community, right? Florida has one of the healthiest metas too, and one of the healthiest communities as well, right? We have a lot of policing of bad activities that goes on. We have individuals or circuits, right, that I'm a part of, that I've brought into the state of Florida, like UTC and also SGA. Thank you to Robert Demings, right? He gave me the opportunity to oversee Florida. But we have a lot of great players in this state, a lot of healthy environments, a lot of healthy community areas, if not all of them, right? And I'm talking about in every location, right? If people don't know, right, it's not like Texas. I was stationed in Texas in the military, right? And well, it's similar to Texas kind of, but it's not like maybe New York City or North Carolina and places like that. But similar to Texas, right? You have to drive usually like an hour or two to go to an event out here. So you have like the Miami area, the Tampa areas, the Orlando areas, the Jacksonville and Tallahassee areas, the Panhandle, people like that, and events, locations like that. So just about everywhere, if not all of them, are doing amazing, great people, great tournament organizers. So shout out to the community, definitely. And our last thing. So I'm all about education on the Onslaught Gaming 40K platform, right? I always want to make sure people are better, and I understand what you guys do over there at Art of War, but is there anything in particular that you can bring to value with value to us for a lesson, right? And tips that you can share with the community about improving their game or better understanding Warhammer 40K?
100%. So this is not going to just be tactical advice, because tactical advice is it's good, but there's no way to just pick one piece. If obviously we teach tactics all day long on the Art of War 40K YouTube channel, as well as on our private platform. Right. I think, oh man, it's hard to choose one. Lewis, why you got to give me these pick one questions? These are hard. Honestly, I would say that one of the biggest things that helped me get better as a player and get that next level is finding people better than me.
Yes.
And that's 100%. That's how I did it. Was I played tournaments to find people who were better than me, to find people who could beat me. Then I went to different stores to find people who could beat me. And, at some point that turns into flying out of the state so that I can lose to Nick Nanavati and finding people better than me. And that's how I've always been elevating my game. And then the biggest part of that is that you don't elevate your game by going and fighting the people better than you. You do it by going and being friendly with the people better than you. And while you should be friendly to everyone, yes, please, 100%, it's going into that game against someone who might be better than you, who might beat you, and still being open and honest and friendly and a good sport and, a good, all of those things, and being like, hey, this is what my army does, right? If I beat Nick Nanavati because, now I do it all the time. But, if younger John flies across the country,
yeah,
if I fly across the country and I beat, someone who is better than me, because Nick was absolutely better than me, certainly, back at the time when I was first meeting him. And if I go do that,
a young lad.
Yeah, when I was a young lad, back without telling him my rules or by, maybe fudging a measurement when he's not looking, that's not going to make you better. And the long-term growth is worth way more than any one individual game win. For just being better at the game is going to win you more games long-term than, cutting a corner and getting something early that maybe won't help you in the future.
Absolutely. See, I knew you had it in you, John. That's exactly what I was looking for. Just a little tips and tricks, right, for people to kind of understand how to be a better player in this community we all share together, right? Just be a good person, right? Continue to have great game etiquette and have fun, right? Most importantly, like I like to tell people on the show all the time, have fun. Having fun is primary for me in my position, and that's how I like to teach people. We all understand that you want to be competitive and play to win the game, but having fun and winning a game are very close to each other, very neck and neck, right? And you can do both, right? You could be very, very good at the game and also have fun and not be a douche, right? So continue to play. Exactly. So everyone continue to play, enjoy yourselves in the world of Warhammer 40K. Thank you so much to John Lennon. Congratulations once again on one other victory that you have in your championship belts, right? I mean, you must have tons of notches. One of these days, I'm going to need you, sir, to put out all of your victories just so we can all be in awe, right? And look at it. Because it's quite the accolade, I can imagine. And maybe you can put a picture up with your trophies and things like that. I know you've gotten wonderful trophies throughout the year, so thank you very much. Thank you very much for everything that you and Art of War do for the community. Appreciate you. Thank you so much. Everyone take care.
All right. I appreciate you, Lewis. Subscribe.
Of course. Absolutely. Take care, everyone. Bye.